all right, designers, now we have to put in our logo type under each one of these icons that we made. Okay, so I'm going to take each icon that was once, like that big. I'm going to take each icon and shrink it down so that I can add some logo type at the bottom. So we get to make up a company name. That's kind of nice with this assignment. We can just make up whatever sounds good or looks good with these icons. I actually haven't even thought about this yet, so we'll see what we can come up with. But there are no restrictions. We're not having to stick with any certain client parameters for this, and it's not like a client has already come up with a name. So it's kind of open to whatever you want. So I don't know. This thing kind of looks like a dragon. Maybe we'll call it shrill. Or shrill. I have no idea what that has to do with the dragon, but it sounds kind of cool. Like a shrill dragon. Is that even a word? I don't know. But see what we're doing here. So there's some type there. I'm going to move that up here. Now I can take that and copy it, and I can mess around with some different fonts. So I can use like a basic Times. I use Times for this right here, but I can also change different aspects of the font. So I can pick a font, then I can take my spacing and space it out more, something like that. I can go to my kerning right here where the letter spacing in between might be a little closer than others. Letters kind of look, depending on what other letter the letter is by. So like this D next to the R, or this R next to the A, it might look further apart right here than it does here because the D bubbles out like this. So that space is less than the space here. The R is kind of more open. So sometimes it's good to change the spacing in between your letters, and one quick way to do that would be right here to change it from auto to optical. Okay, so that's just the kerning, and then the letter spacing is what right here where I made it further apart or closer together. And you can do something like that. You can make your letters closer together, or spread them apart, whatever you think looks best. Okay, these are just some of the quick basics we could do to our logo type. So notice that when it was on auto kerning, it changed when we went to optical kerning. You can see the spacing between the letters change. Okay, and what it's trying to do is even out more of the spacing optically between the letters. So I don't want you to stretch this type either. If you want a taller font, find a taller font. Don't stretch it. Don't stretch it out this way either. Okay, find a different font for that. Okay, you can go ahead and change the font. You could use multiple fonts, so you could do like we could kind of, let's see, there's that one, Baskerville regular. We could mix it up and do some of it bold, some of it regular, which doesn't look good at all in this format. But I'm going to go ahead and mess with those, okay, until I get something that I like. Maybe I'll pick a regular serif font for this last part. Okay, And with this one, I'll keep shrill looking the way it is here. All right. And then with the dragon part, I'm going to cut that and paste it onto a different line. So I'll have one line that says shrill, and maybe that's enough. That kind of looks cool. And then down here, I'm going to write dragon and then separate that so it's a lot further apart. Maybe put 300 for letter spacing there, and then decrease the size. Maybe something like that. Okay. So there's the shrill dragon. I don't know. It could be a wine or a drink or a cafe. I don't know. It might be kind of fun to play with. If you ended up liking one of these logo ideas, it might be fun to play with, to put it on, like design a wine label or design an eatery or something like that, and create all the marketing for it. So I'm going to take this and just kind of move it over here. I'll use, well, yeah, I'll just use this placeholder for the next logo. But this looks pretty good. I'm going to leave this shrill dragon here, and just so I have it in case I move it to another computer or give it to somebody else and don't have the font, I'm going to convert this to outlines as well. But before I do, I'm going to copy this over here and keep it in its font form so I know which font I used. Okay, but over here I'm going to outline the text just like I did the icon. So remember, this used to be text and then I turned it into its outlines. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Okay, so just in case I can't find this font later on or give it to somebody, whatever, yeah, it still looks like this. It won't convert to a different font. Okay, so I'm going to copy the original one over here just so I have it, and then outline this. Remember, to outline your font, you go to Type. Of course, you select it first, and you go to Type, Create Outlines. Okay, so now that I've got this, you'll want to take some time, you guys, to line everything up. Make sure that, you know, this is like right against the edge there, like that, and that this lines up there, if this is the way you're stacking it. Okay, but that looks pretty good. I'm just going to keep everything black and white for now. I'm going to group my text together, so select those and then go Object Group. Remember, Command G is the key command. Okay, and then I'm going to select all of it and group it together. Okay, so Command G. So now it stays together. All the alignment stays. Remember, if you want to work on the little pieces individually again, you can ungroup them, or you can double click to go into that isolated group. Okay, here's your isolated groups. Then you double click to go back out. All right, so there's that one. I shrunk it down to fit on the page. Now, this doesn't look like a dragon. It can look like a number of things. And I'm going to shrink this down. And what could we call that? Well, I want you to, I'll go through these a little bit. I'll pause. I'll go through these and show you, but I want you all to come up with different logo type for each one of these. And I don't want you to do them exactly the same. I want you to think of different ways to do your logo type for each one of these. So I'm going to actually pause this, and then I'll come back and I'll just show you the final pieces that I did. But the requirements are your logo icon, and then your logo type outlined underneath it, aligned and looking pretty, and all the distances and the spacing just how you want it to appear, as if you were using it on a business card or a label or something. And then move over at least a copy of the text over here in its type form so that you can figure out the font that it was, if you need to come back and edit that. All right. Okay, so for this one, I decided to call this Serenity Life. I think I'm going to use Swiss. And I might use like a Swiss light for the first part. And then for the second part, maybe use a medium for the second part. So kind of keep it all together with no spacing between Serenity and Life. And then tighten up the word spacing a little bit. The letter spacing, I mean. So maybe a -5. And then always put in the optical for the kerning so that it tightens that up a little bit. I like that. So I'm just going to go with that. Remember, optical kerning does a lot as far as, and it really depends on the font, so maybe you might want to do that for everyone, at least for this assignment. Put in optical kerning. That looks good. I'm going to copy this over here so that I know which font it is when I open my file back up. But for this one, I'm going to outline it. So Shift-Command-O or type create outlines. Okay. And I want to keep that group together. And I want to center this over it. So I can eyeball it. Sometimes I make it as big as that actual type, and then when I scale it down, I hold down Shift and Option, and that will scale it from the center. Another way to do it is just to select them both and hit center align, okay, and it will center them both on my document, so that looks good. And you can put that down in a little tighter, okay, if you want, however you want to do it. You could put it over here on the side. You could keep it centered, whatever you want to do. I think I'm just going to bring it down in a little bit tighter to the logotype, right? And then I'm going to shrink that down a little bit more so it kind of matches up with this one a little bit. Oh, and I need to center this one in the page as well, the first one that I did. Okay. All right, group that. Awesome. Okay, so I've got them all in here. I think how I want them. Shrill Dragon, decided to name that Shrill Dragon. Serenity Life. This is a 2-line logo type where I want you all to not pick any cheesy fonts. Use strong, not cliche or trendy fonts. I don't want you to just throw in like Comic Sans or Papyrus or Amelia, looks like a video game, or Blackletter, it looks like this old German Blackletter. Don't do that. Just use a standard serif or a standard sans serif font and make it strong by its alignment, and its proximity. So this is stronger because it looks like it's part of a unit. It's got some variety between the letter spacing and the letter sizing. Okay, this is bigger than that, so it has some hierarchy. But a lot of the design is just in its placement. Okay, you don't need to let this funky, popular, or whatever font to do that work for you, because it's really not doing it at all. Learn how to make it clean and strong just by some of these small things that I did. Okay, stacking it like this, using varied letter spacing, varied sizes. This is a light right here. This is a bold right here of the same font. Okay, this is all together the same font, but I made the and a little bit smaller here to just give it a little bit of variety. And then this one right here, I put it all to the side. Solutions is not as important as the company main name, One Stop. All right. So, and then off to the side, I have them in their actual font as type. Inside here, they're just outlined. Okay, grouped together and then centered on the page. This is how I want you all to finalize this. Make sure you meet all of these requirements. Keep them in black, and save this as a PDF. File, save as. Okay. And upload. Oops, let me do it. Put a 2 by it, or put a final by it, because this is my final one here. Save it as an Adobe PDF, and don't forget to save another version as an Adobe Illustrator so you can go back in and open it without any troubles. And plus you have a backup file in case one of them breaks, and then hit save. Okay, give me this file when you're done, and we'll move on to the next assignment.